Most people think the expensive choice is the better choice. That is the trap. Because a lot of what we call luxury is not about better stuff. It is about better feelings, better stories, better approval from people who do not pay your bills. And the wild part is that the status version is often the worst value version. Same company, same category, just a louder logo and a higher price. Today we're counting down 15 luxury brands that a lot of middle-class shoppers buy mainly for status, not because the quality is clearly better for the money. Number 15. Gucci is one of the easiest examples because the logo is the product for a lot of buyers. The brand has genuinely well-made items, but the items that blow up in everyday life are often the loudest and most repeatable ones. Belts with big buckles, logo sneakers, logo tees, monogram canvas pieces, and small leather goods that shout from across a room. That is not an accident. That is the point. The status comes from being seen, not from lasting longer. A big thing people miss is how entry luxury works. When you first step into luxury, you usually do not buy the best-made item that brand sells. You buy the item that proves you bought the brand. That usually means more branding, simpler construction, and a price that is still high for what it is. A plain, well-built leather belt can last ages. But when you pay mostly for a big logo buckle, the buckle becomes the whole conversation. The leather just needs to survive long enough for the photo. Another detail people overlook is comfort and repair. Some trendy shoes and chunky sneakers look bold, but comfort and long-term wear are not always the main goal. And once the trend passes, you are left with a loud piece that is hard to resell and awkward to wear quietly. The brand wins twice. You pay for the hype, and you buy again when the look changes. If you love the style, the smarter move is simple. Focus on materials and stitching first. Choose quieter pieces with better construction and fewer giant logos. And be honest about why you want it. If the main reason is people will notice, then you are paying for attention, not quality. Number 14. Louis Vuitton is famous for travel routes, trunks, and leather work, so people assume every popular item is top quality. But the most common status buy is the monogram coated canvas, not leather. Coated canvas can be durable, and it has its use. The problem is how many buyers think they are paying for rare leather quality when they are mostly paying for a pattern, a history story, and brand power. There is a reason the monogram is everywhere. It is hard to miss. It photographs well. It signals fast. And it creates a kind of instant membership feeling. For a middle-class buyer, that signal can feel like a shortcut to being taken seriously. The quality part becomes a background detail. Here's what people often miss. A lot of the value is in the brand's control of supply, pricing, and the experience, not in a magical leap in materials. The shopping moment is part of the product. The box, the bag, the whole ritual. You can't wear a receipt, but you can carry a shopping bag through a mall like a trophy. Also, coated canvas pieces can be tricky in a different way than leather. Scratches, corner wear, and heat exposure can show over time, and repairs can be limited or costly depending on the item and policy. The logo keeps its social value longer than the surface keeps its new look. If you want something that actually feels like the craftsmanship story you're paying for, you have to be picky. Look beyond the loudest monogram pieces. Ask what the item is made of and how it is built. If you still want the canvas, own that choice. You are buying identity and design, not the best leather money can buy. Number 13. Balenciaga is a perfect case of status by shock. A lot of what sells is not about fine materials. It is about being part of a moment. The brand has made waves with oversized fits, extreme sneakers, and designs that look like they are daring you to get it. And for many buyers, getting it is the whole reward. Here's the quiet truth. When a brand leans hard into the idea and the silhouette, it can sell very simple basics at very serious prices. A hoodie can be a hoodie. A tee can be a tee. But if the branding is tied to a cultural moment, the same basic item becomes a social signal. People buy it because it says, "I'm tuned in," not because the cotton is life-changing. Another thing that drives the status is speed. Trend cycles move fast. When everyone is chasing what is new, the quality standard becomes, does it look current right now? That is why some shoppers will accept weird comfort, awkward fits, or fragile-looking details. They are not buying a forever item, they are buying a conversation piece. And there is a resale trap too. Loud, trend-heavy pieces can lose demand sharply when taste changes. That makes the true cost higher than it looks at checkout, because you can't easily get value back later unless the item stays hot. If you like bold fashion, there is nothing wrong with that. But if you are telling yourself it is an investment in quality, pause. Ask one simple question. Would I still want this if nobody could see the logo or recognize the shape? If the answer is no, you are paying for status first. Number 12. Prada has a clean, serious image, and it has real luxury pieces. But the most famous gateway product for years has been nylon. Nylon can be practical. It can be lightweight. It can handle daily life. The issue is not that nylon is bad. The issue is the story people tell themselves when they pay luxury prices for a material that exists everywhere. The status here is subtle. It's not always a loud logo. It's the I know signal. The triangle badge, the simple lines, the quiet flex that says you are not trying too hard. That kind of status is powerful because it feels smarter than the loud stuff. But this is where brands are clever. A simple-looking item is often easier to mass-produce and easier to repeat in many variations. That means the brand can scale it. And when something scales, the price is not tied to difficulty. It is tied to demand and image. People also miss how simple can hide what you are paying for. A clean design has fewer details to distract you, so you focus on the label. The label becomes the proof that it is luxury. That is why so many shoppers chase the triangle badge instead of asking about lining, stitching, hardware, and how the shape holds up over time. If you love the look, buy it for the look. But don't confuse minimal with better built. When you want quality, you need to zoom in on construction, not vibe. Minimal can be amazing. Minimal can also be overpriced basic. Number 11. Burberry is one of those brands where the pattern does a lot of the work. The check is iconic and it has a long history. But when the pattern becomes the main reason people buy, the item turns into a flag. The scarf becomes a status billboard. The coat becomes a status uniform. A lot of middle-class buyers first meet the brand through the most recognizable items, especially the check pieces. That is normal. People want the thing everyone recognizes. But that also means the status version of the brand is usually the most copied look, the most trend-cycled look, and the look that can feel dated fastest if fashion turns. The other issue is that buyers often assume a brand famous for outerwear means every item is peak outerwear quality. In reality, brands can have ranges. Some items are truly premium. Some are more about design, pattern, and positioning. And when you're buying for the check, you might not be getting the best-made fabric or the best long-term structure for that category. There's also a social trick here. The check reads as old money to some people, even when it is being used as a very modern status symbol, so it can feel like a shortcut to looking established. That makes people accept a high markup without doing the boring comparison work. If you want to buy smarter, lean toward pieces where the quality is obvious even without the pattern. Focus on fabric weight, how seams are finished, how the item sits on the body, and whether it still looks good when it is not styled for a photo. If the only thing you love is the check, you are paying for recognition, not quality. Number 10. Dior is a fascinating one because beauty products bring luxury to people who will never buy the runway pieces. Fragrance, makeup, and skincare can feel like a safe way to join the luxury world. You get the name, the packaging, and the feeling without buying a bag or coat. Here's the part many people don't think about. Beauty is often about branding, scent preference, and experience more than raw ingredient cost. Some products are excellent, some are simply good. But the premium you pay is heavily tied to marketing, packaging, and the power of the name. You are buying the story that you are the kind of person who wears that fragrance or carries that compact. Beauty is also where little upgrades add up. Limited editions, special gift sets, seasonal releases. You can feel like you are saving because you got a set, but you might be buying extra items you wouldn't choose on their own. It turns luxury into a small monthly habit. And the status angle is real even if nobody sees a perfume bottle. People talk about scent like identity. They talk about it like taste. Wearing a luxury scent can feel like wearing a private badge, even when nobody can name it. That is still status. It is just status you carry inside your own head. If you love it, enjoy it. But don't confuse luxury beauty with automatically best. Sample first. Compare how long you truly like it on your skin. Pay attention to return rules because some categories are limited once opened. In beauty, the best pick is the one you actually use, not the one with the fanciest name. Number 9. Chanel is one of the most powerful status names on the planet, and that power spills into everything it sells. For many middle-class shoppers, the first buy is not a classic bag or a suit. It's a smaller entry, a fragrance, a lipstick, a compact, a wallet, a card holder, sunglasses, or costume jewelry. The status here is not subtle. It's instant. Even people who know nothing about fashion know the name. That is why the entry items are so effective. They let people hold a piece of the legend. And when a brand has that level of legend, the quality question becomes softer in the buyer's mind. The name does the heavy lifting. Another thing people miss is that luxury is not one single standard across categories. A fragrance can be lovely and still be priced far above what it costs to produce because the real product is the image. Costume jewelry can look great and still have limits on long-term wear because it is fashion jewelry, not fine jewelry. Sunglasses can look iconic and still be part of a licensing world where many brands share similar production pipelines. The buying experience also matters. Packaging, counters, and the feeling of being treated like you matter. That's not fake. That feeling is real. The question is whether you want to pay extra for that feeling, or whether you want the best build for your money. If you want quality, shop with your hands and your eyes, not your emotions. Look at clasps, hinges, lining, how edges are finished, and how the item will handle daily life. If you want status, admit that too. The problem is, pretending the status buy is a quality buy. That story is what drains wallets. Number 8. Rolex is the king of status that sells itself. A watch can be a great tool, a piece of craft, and a personal symbol. But the modern status machine around this brand is something else. People don't just buy a watch. They buy the feeling of being chosen, the feeling of joining a club, and the feeling that strangers will read success off their wrist. Here's where the quality story gets messy. The watches are well made, and they are respected. The issue is how many buyers are not buying it for timekeeping, or even for the craftsmanship. They are buying it because it is the most recognized "I made it" watch. That pushes people into games, waiting, hunting, paying extra through resellers, or settling for a model they didn't even want just to get the name. And when demand is crazy, it creates a strange situation where the buying process itself becomes the status. If you can get one, it signals connections, money, or patience. That means the status value rises, even if the practical value is the same as any other good watch. There's also a hidden cost in how precious people feel they must be with it. If you're scared to wear it in daily life, it stops being a tool and becomes a stress object. That is not quality. That is anxiety with a logo. If you love watches, learn what you love about them. Movement type, finishing, comfort, service options, and how it fits your life. Don't buy a waiting list. Don't buy a stranger's approval. Buy something you would enjoy even if nobody noticed it. Number 7. Cartier sits in a sweet spot of instant recognition and clean luxury. A lot of people think of it as timeless, classy, and safe, and that is exactly why middle-class buyers reach for it as a status move. It signals refinement without shouting. The tricky part is that the name covers a wide range. Fine jewelry can hold value differently than fashion jewelry. Craft and materials matter a lot in jewelry, and the gap between looks expensive and is built to last decades can be huge. Many buyers don't want to learn those details. They want the signature look and the social meaning that comes with it. And jewelry is emotional. People buy it for milestones, relationships, and identity. That makes it easier to accept high markups. You're not just buying metal and stones. You're buying a memory story. Brands know that. That's why the shopping experience is so careful, so polished, so ceremonial. There's also a status trap in the starter piece idea. People buy a small item as a gateway, then they want the next piece, then the next. It becomes a ladder. The ladder is not about quality. It is about collecting proof of belonging. If you want real quality in jewelry, you have to care about boring details. What metal is it? How are stones set? How durable are the parts that move? How does it handle daily wear? If you still want the brand, go in with eyes open. You are paying for design language and status, not just craftsmanship. Number 6. Mercedes-Benz has a badge that does a lot of social work. For many people, it is not a car. It is a statement that you are doing well. That makes it a top status buy, especially when monthly payments can make it feel reachable. Here's what people miss. In cars, the status version is often the financing plan, not the product. A buyer can get a luxury badge by stretching terms, leasing, or choosing a lower trim that still carries the emblem. The outside says luxury. The inside experience may say base model with add-ons. Luxury brands also pack features in ways that can push you into upgrades. You start with a reasonable version, then you want the nicer screen, then the nicer sound, then the nicer wheels, then the driver assistance package. Suddenly, you're paying a lot more than you planned, and you're still telling yourself you bought quality. And modern cars are full of tech. Tech ages fast. Screens, software, sensors, and electronic features can be amazing, but they can also become expensive headaches outside of warranty. That is not a promise that something will break. It is just a reality that complexity costs money over time. Status buyers often ignore that because they are focused on the badge and the feeling. If you love the way it drives, great. If you love the comfort, great. But don't let the badge do your thinking. Compare long-term ownership costs, service habits, and what you truly need. The smartest luxury car buyer is the one who buys the driving experience, not the logo. Number 5. BMW is another badge that middle-class buyers chase because it signals a certain kind of life. It suggests confidence, speed, and taste. And just like with other luxury cars, the payment plan can make the badge feel closer than it really is. The status trick here is the word performance. People hear that word and assume the car is automatically better built and more durable. But performance and durability are not the same. A vehicle can be fun and sharp and still cost more to maintain because it is engineered for a different goal, with different parts and tighter systems. There's also the base model illusion. You can buy into the brand at a lower level, but you might be giving up the features that make it feel truly premium. Meanwhile, the outside still gives you the status. That is perfect for a status buyer. They get the image without paying for the full experience. The downside is that they can end up with a car that costs luxury money to service while feeling like a regular car inside. Another thing people miss is how options change resale and satisfaction. If you pick the wrong mix, you might have a car that is harder to sell later, or one that doesn't feel worth what you pay each month. Status buyers often don't plan that far. They plan for the photo and the first month of excitement. If you want a premium car for quality, focus on reliability history, warranty coverage, maintenance habits, and how the car fits your daily routine. If you want it for status, be honest. Status is expensive, and the bill often arrives later, not at the dealership. Number 4. Canada Goose is a great example of cold weather armor as status. A warm jacket is useful, but this brand became a symbol. In many places, the coat is not just about staying warm. It is about being seen as someone who can afford the coat. Here's the main issue. Most people do not live in conditions that require extreme gear. They live in places where many jackets would do the job. But the status jacket sends a message. It says you have money to spend on something you technically do not need. That is one of the strongest forms of status. When a product becomes a uniform, it becomes less about craftsmanship and more about membership. People stop asking, "Is this the best jacket for my climate?" and start asking, "Will people recognize it?" That is a very different question. Another thing people miss is how premium is created in outerwear. Downfill, stitching patterns, lining, and wind resistance matter. But two jackets can be similarly warm while one costs far more because it has a more famous patch. And once a coat is trendy, it can also become a target for fakes, which makes some buyers even more focused on visible branding to prove theirs is real. That pushes the patch even harder. If you love the warmth and the fit, fine. Just match the gear to your actual weather and your actual life. The best coat is the one you wear comfortably for years, not the one that turns into a status costume you get bored of. Number 3. Moncler is another outerwear name that carries status like a passport stamp. The coats can be well made, and the brand has deep roots in mountain and cold weather culture. But the way many people buy it today is pure signal. The shiny puffer, the recognizable patch, the idea of luxury sport. The status here is interesting because it mixes rich with active. Even if you do not hike or ski, the look suggests a high-end lifestyle. That is why it sells so well in cities. It's not just warmth. It's the fantasy of being the type of person who could casually fly to a cold place for fun. But for many buyers, the quality question is never truly asked. They assume expensive means warmest, toughest, best. In reality, outerwear performance depends on details, and different brands and designs serve different needs. Some coats are built for deep cold and hard use. Some are built to look like they are. There's also the care problem. Puffy coats can require gentle cleaning and careful storage. If you wear it as a daily city jacket, it will face rain, spills, friction, and grime. If you're afraid to use it like a normal coat, then you bought a fragile status object, not a tool. If you want to buy it for the look, own that. If you want a coat for quality, focus on warmth needs, fabric durability, and how you will care for it. Status coats feel great in the mirror. Quality coats feel great when the weather is ugly. Number 2. Rimowa is the luggage flex that a lot of people don't notice at first, and that's exactly why it works. It's the kind of status that says, I travel, even if the travel is one big trip a year. The metal grooves and the clean shape are instantly recognizable to people who care about that world. Here's what people miss. Luggage lives a hard life. It gets dragged, tossed, stacked, and scraped. Even the best suitcase will get beat up. So when you pay luxury money, you have to ask what you are actually getting. Sometimes you're getting design, brand identity, and a certain look in airport photos more than a huge leap in function. Wheels and handles matter more than most people think. Interior layout matters, weight matters, warranty terms matter, but status buyers often focus on the shell look and the logo. They want the airport signal. The suitcase becomes part of the outfit. There's also a hidden cost in how you treat it. If you baby your luggage because it was expensive, you end up stressed. You worry about scratches, you worry about dents. But dents and scratches are normal for luggage. A suitcase is not jewelry. When a product's normal wear makes you unhappy, that is a sign you bought emotion, not practicality. If you love the design and you travel a lot, you might enjoy it. But if you travel rarely, think hard. The smartest travel upgrade is often comfort and ease, not a suitcase that turns every baggage claim into a personal drama. Number 1. Hermes is the final boss of status buying because it sells scarcity as a feeling. The quality can be excellent, but that's not what makes the brand a status legend. The legend comes from access, waiting, and the idea that not everyone can just walk in and get what they want. That not everyone is the real product. People chase the feeling of being chosen. They chase the feeling of being part of a small group. And that chase can make buyers do strange things. They buy items they didn't truly want. They overpay for the privilege of building a purchase history. They treat shopping like a test. When status is tied to access, quality becomes optional in the buyer's mind. Not because the quality is bad, but because the buyer is not buying for quality first. They are buying for the story. I got it. That story is powerful enough to make someone ignore practical questions like, will I use this often? Or does this fit my life? There is also a social trick here. When an item is scarce and expensive, people assume it must be the best. But scarcity can be managed. Scarcity can be part of branding. Scarcity can be used to make you want something more, even if a quieter item would serve you better every day. If you love the craft, learn the craft. Touch the materials. Study how it is made. Choose something you would still love in a plain box with no name. Because the moment you realize you are buying stress, chasing approval, or buying things you don't even like to earn the thing you do like, you're not buying luxury. You're buying a game. So here's the big takeaway. Status buying is not about being stupid. It's about being human. Brands sell symbols because symbols sell faster than details. The move is to stop letting the symbol do all the talking. Ask what the item is made of. Ask how it wears over time. Ask how easy it is to repair, return, and live with. And ask the question that saves the most money. Would I want this if nobody else ever saw it? Drop a comment with this specific question. Which one of these brands do you think makes the biggest gap between looks expensive and is worth it? And why? If this made you think twice in a good way, hit like, share it with someone who's about to buy a logo they don't even love. Thanks for watching.